Episode number 33, everybody. We are back. Took a small break last week. I ended up just not being available last Thursday, but
right.
But
I'll tell you what, it's good to be back, and you really feel like it's missed when it takes 1 or 2 weeks, and then and there's a possibility that might be happening next week. So
without a doubt, I mean, we have a lot of we had this planned with our guest Drew for probably a couple of weeks now, and then I know you mentioned next week you're not going to be around, so which if you want to share you can, otherwise we can move on from that.
Oh yeah, I don't care. Whenever it doesn't bother me any. I will be playing in the World Series of Poker, so I won my local poker league here, and so I'm playing $1,000 event.
That's
called
crazy.
The Millionaire Maker at the World Series of Poker. So.
And I put up half of the money, so that means if Jason wins, I get half the win.
If I win, I won't tell anybody, but there will be signs. You're going to see Jason purchasing Cobbs and Honus Wagners, and what is going on with it? He's going to go from the everyday card collector to the Petty Junior collection. So
that's sick. That's sick. Well, good luck, man. I'm hoping that you're going to hit it big.
Thank you, sir.
You'll do well. But so I guess that means for next week we're gonna we were planning on having Lenny from Cardcast, and we still will. But I think what we'll have to do is how they have Inside the NBA with Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith, and so I think what we'll do is like that. Sometimes when somebody has to step out, we bring somebody in.
Yep.
So maybe maybe Aaron or someone from the the Slab Pack.
Slab Pack, yeah.
Slab Pack can come in and hold it down while you're winning the millions.
Well, is that the text chain now, or is that the Slab Pack? Because there's like 15 of us on that thing, so you got plenty to draw from.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's definitely somebody who will take the reins,
right?
In your absence. But let's see who's in the chat. Welcome, everybody, to Cardboard and Cold Ones, where we raise our beers. Cheers to the legends we admire on the cardboard we collect. Episode number 33, the Eddie Murray episode. Or if you're a basketball fan, Larry Bird episode. Was Larry Walker number 33? I think he was with the Rockies.
I don't. He may have been. I thought. Wasn't Alonzo Mourning 33 too?
Oh, yeah, there's tons of basketball players. 33. Patrick Ewing.
Right.
Barr. Scottie Pippen. I mean, 33 is a popular number. But let's get everybody. Let's do a roll call. So Brian gave the video a like. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Brian. You're the king of likes. Mr. Ruben Snyder is here. Dave from Peacemaker Cards. David Bustle, Baseball Card Philosophy. Howdy, y'all. James Wynn is here. John P. Collects. Good. Hey, guys. Cheers. eBay. Hello. When I hear that, I just think of the Seinfeld episode. Munson Trout Collector, evening, everybody. Rocket Rick is here. Beat Up Cards. Yeah, nice drinks. Absolutely. It's required. Yeah, thanks, Greg. Episode Larry Walker. There you go. That was definitely
okay. The case. Bruce nailed it.
There's Annette Jaeger bombs. Not quite. Not there yet.
No.
Yes, the normal view for Sammy, not the claustrophobic wall view. Yeah, now for live streams, this is much more fitting. I think you'll get the claustrophobic view tomorrow. I plan on releasing another video tomorrow. Then you'll get the real claustrophobic feeling. A panic attack will ensue. $1,000 buy-in. Let's go. Yes, let's wish Jason the best, and hopefully he will finish in the money. David, that's sick. Jason,
thank you, gentlemen.
Cobb, yeah, man. We all know where the money's gonna go to. Good luck. Greg is all supporting you there, and Jacob is here. The encyclopedia is here. Sitting in my beach chair with a cold PBR. That sounds awesome.
Attaboy, Mike. Attaboy. PBR at its best.
Rick is here. Vintage Oddball Cards. Peeps is here. Orlando is here. Good to see Orlando.
Yes, sir.
Thriving and thriving, man. Dan, hey guys. Godlike Collectibles, man. We got a lot of people, man. Good. That's a good crowd. We got a good crowd.
Absolutely.
Rick, and hey Rick. Hey Rick. All All right, let's bring in our guest. You guys know him very well. He's been around for some time, and you've seen a lot of his videos. He's no stranger to the community. The Drew Vintage Legacy. What is up, my friend?
How we doing, my friends? I'm looking
Very
forward to
good,
this.
Drew. How are you?
Good, good, good. I've been looking forward to this for a while since we started chatting about it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's funny because it runs in streaks now, right?
Yeah.
I have to do the shameless plug, but Drew was on my channel yesterday. We did Mount Rushmore, so me, Aaron, and Drew are on my channel right now. So
there's just a lot of, that's like a Venn diagram of channels, kind of just inter.
Absolutely.
And people get sick of me, and I won't be invited back for a few months, and that's fine. That's normal.
So, Orlando's happy to see you.
Oh man, it's good to see him. Really good.
So, amongst the many as well. So, I have some questions that I kind of brought up based on your channel that I wanted to go into, if you don't mind.
No, it's fine.
So what inspired you to start the Drew Vintage Legacy? Was there a particular moment or experience that sparked the idea?
I really hate telling the story because we do not need to feed in his ego, but I've been friends with Jake from for years and long time before he was on YouTube even. And every time we got together or we would talk, I was always telling stories, whether it was about my experiences or baseball stories or card stories or whatever. And when he started his channel and started to grow, he's like, Drew, you just need to get a channel and start telling your stories. And I know what that meant. What that meant was, Drew, shut up. I'm tired of hearing your stories already. So I don't know if I just, cycled through them and started repeating, which is possible. But he's the one that really kind of pushed. And then another group of friends all together were like, yeah, just do it. It's not a big deal. And I don't know why I didn't. But I just did. I remember my first video. I was like, hey, here I am. And my first series was just me telling stories like I always had, stories that I found funny or inspiring or interesting or whatever. And it's like any channel growth. It was a slow growth, but I kind of learned the ropes a little bit, and really the surprise of it all was not the friendliness of it, because I had been really active for a long time in Net 54, and that's the same type of community, very welcoming, especially for new guys or smaller collections. And there's no judgment about, well, my collection's worth this and you only have that. There's none of that. So that didn't surprise me. But the nice thing or the difference with YouTube was actually seeing people, and you get to know them personally, not just through a blog post, which is fine. But I really enjoyed getting to know people as people, and and I really, that's been the most fun thing. And now if I flip through my phone, I mean, I know guys all over the country and really all over the world even, that I can just text and be like, hey, what's up and what's going on? Guys that'll text me, and so the community has shrank to be more close, even though it's grown as far as where we all are. So that's kind of why I started, and then why I continue to do it. So
yeah, I mean, that's you touched on a good point about the outreach of all the different people in the community, and how in a split second you can reach out to anybody throughout the country, actually even the world, because oh god, I'm forgetting his name, but the guy that is from Australia.
The gentleman we met at Strongsville.
Yeah. What
was it, Kenneth or Ken?
I mean,
Greg knows. Greg posted in
knows,
the chat.
yeah. And I feel bad for it's so many names to remember, and unfortunately, I remember faces so much better than I do names, unfortunately. But I mean, the point is that the outreach is incredible, and in a split second, you could easily just text somebody asking a question about a card, like, oh, Mookie's with the save, Carl from Australia. Yes,
Carl,
thanks, Mook. It is Carl, and I'm sorry, Carl. I should know better. So, but like I always reach out to Orlando. I reach out to Mookie. I reach out to to Scott. Stukes. So, like you said, man, there's a great outreach.
Yeah, and to me, it's a wealth of knowledge that is free to share. You know what I mean? Like for instance, Jason, I know you're in those Aurora Vision, and I've seen them for years, but I didn't have a deep understanding until you started showing them. I still don't have one, but you and I have chatted about, hey, what about this and what do you think of that? And keep your eye out. You mentioned Stuke. I picked up an exhibit. I don't collect exhibits, but I actually got one as a throw-in on a deal a while back. And I asked him, I said, can you tell me anything about this? And of course, the encyclopedia gives me the entire encyclopedia on this one specific card. And same thing with Sammy. You and I have talked about different things, and and we'll get into a big story, I'm sure, tonight about something that you were integral of. But that's the thing is, it's like a free information. Because we just care. When you pick up a Mathewson card, I'm excited for you. I don't desire the card, or I don't. That's not what I'm going for. But I'm just as excited when you pick up that, or just anything. If someone picks up a $2 card or a $2,000 card, we're all excited for each other, and that's the
Right.
community part that I really enjoy. That I just want to keep making videos, not to entertain people, but just keep me plugged into the community.
There's definitely an excitement factor about helping somebody else find a card as well. I don't know. It's to me, it's on the level of being as satisfying as finding a card for yourself in some ways.
Yeah.
The thing that I tell everybody, and it's hard to, I've been doing this for the shortest amount of time out of all of us. I'm only on a year and a half. But the thing that I tell people is when you try to express this, or if you say it multiple times, I feel like it almost becomes fluff and it's not understood. That when someone says, well, what do you enjoy most about the hobby? And my reply is the community, since I've gotten onto YouTube and became part of that community. I said, people just truly don't understand. My only reflection of that is I'll show them my phone, and I have like 35 different string or chats with people from all over the community, right?
Mhm.
Helping each other, showing them what they picked up. I mean, it's just my phone is, but before my phone didn't buzz. It really didn't. It was family or my few friends. And now this thing's popping off all day while I'm at work. And 90% of it is the friends that I've made in this community who are willing to help. Encouraging each other when you find something. Like you said, it could be $2, it could be $2,000. It's just a fantastic. It really enhances the community, and I think recently we're getting a lot of new channels because people are understanding that and buying into that, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a collective effort for everybody, and I will say this much, and this is something that I've learned over time, is that not every video has to show a pickup.
Yeah,
I think
correct.
There's pressure in having to show
which
a
is
new
a good thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess so, but you don't want to just go out there and find a card for the sake of just showing it. But
I will say this, because we were
yeah,
talking before we jumped on and kind of talking about what your niche is. And Sammy, you're doing some new things, revamping your logo and such. And we were talking about that. And I've told this to Drew several times, so he knows probably what I'm going to say. Drew is the best storyteller out of anybody who has a channel, in my opinion. Drew and TJ Mack are the two channels where the storytelling draws you in. You don't have to pick anything up for a year. You can have the story behind it. And even last night when we were chatting and talking about another topic on my channel, the storytelling was just the best, bar none. It keeps you so captivated. It doesn't even have to be true, and I'm in hook, line, and sinker.
Apparently not. Sorry about that again.
Following Drew, you have to follow Drew, and that's what I gravitate to when Drew makes a video. It's the storytelling.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do, and it's just it's kind of who I am. I've always been a people watcher, and I like to see the quirky things that people do, because all people are individuals, but people as a collective group kind of are all the same. So when someone stands up or stands out for something exceptional or odd or whatever, I take notice of it. And I don't know, you just put a spin on it. And it's the same with cards. You can look at cards all day long. It's just card, but you're looking at the minute little things. I love the coloring. I love the pose. I love the logo. I love whatever. It's the same thing with telling a story. You just express it, and I don't know, it helps bring that community. It's a connection to something. Most people watching have never met me, and I did meet a number of guys up at the National last year, but I feel like a lot of people know me, or I know a lot of people, because they're just sharing themselves. This is who I am. I've met both Sammy and Jason. You guys are who you are. We don't take off the makeup and then go back to being some other person when we're off camera. This is just us being card nerds and dorks, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So
I love it. I love being a card nerd, so I'm good with it.
And yeah, I mean, everybody has, as you mentioned, everybody has their niche. So, I mean, there are just some that have these expanded knowledge bases, like Scott from Stooks. My knowledge is kind of focused in on, really on 4 players, but then you start learning about certain sets from those players, like the Stahlmeyers and the Coca-Colas, and from in my case, the New York Journal Americans. I mean, there's just it's insane how many different sets exist for these, both Topps, Bowman, and then you start getting into these off-brand stuff that's just completely out there.
well, there's a perfect example. You mentioned the American Journal. I had never heard of those cards or seen them. I don't go to many card shows,
Right.
so unless somebody shows me one, I've never heard of some of these, smaller sets or oddball sets or whatever. And the first ones I ever saw were from you, Sammy. Now I don't own any, but since then I have found out one of my guys, Carl Erskine, has a card. So
Yeah.
guess what? At some point, I'm going to be looking for that card. It's not high end, but it'll
Mhm.
fit perfect in my collection. And I wouldn't have known about that card if it wasn't for you just well. I mean, at least that was the first time I ever heard of it. But in all the decades I've collected, I've never come across them that I knew about. So that's the thing is you sort of just it's not always like, hey, look, Jason, this is for you. It's more like you're just talking and someone's like, dang, I did a video last week on a card that I picked up recently. The high majority of comments where I've never seen these cards before. I've never seen that set before, and I'll be happy to show that card if you want. But it's chock full of Hall of Famers, and it's right in the middle of the vintage post-war 1950 is when the year came out. Nobody had heard of it, and I had never heard of it until a couple of months ago with another YouTuber happened to be like, "Hey, check out this weird little card." I contacted him. I'm like, "Hey, is that for sale?" Next thing you know, I have it. So that's exactly kind of how it works. So anyway.
Do you want to show some stuff off? I'll put you on the screen here. I've
I
got
would I would love to. So we'll start with that card if you haven't seen the video.
a
So
second.
this
There we go.
I'll just talk as you do it, but
Go
this
for it.
card came out in 1950, and it's unique in a lot of different ways. First of all, as you guys know, the no, the
Sure.
baseball encyclopedia. All these sets have
Okay. Oh,
have names. Like a T206 or T212, and they still do for a while after post-war. But most of them are renamed. We call them 51 tops, or we call them the 49 leaf or whatever, as opposed to their catalog name. But this is the only set that I know that's still only known by its catalog name, and I looked everywhere. I couldn't find another nickname for it. But the actual set is called the R423,
mhm.
and they're, I don't know how else to describe them but a micro card. So I'm a Pee Wee Reese guy, so this is the Pee Wee Reese, and this is by far the smallest card I have ever seen that was mass produced and given. But this is, now I'll give you an example here. Here's a normal size card. This is a Pee Wee Reese. Talk about this one. This is what the card is in its size, in its actual size.
The Topps
So
Magic card.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like the Top Magic. They're
yeah,
tiny.
but it's tiny, and it's the same pose as the Burke Ross, and it's really hard to get that thing to focus.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I mean, that small, it's just super hard. I had a really hard time making the video to get a nice focus on it.
You certainly got it there.
The back is all, they're all the same. It's a little diamond.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get it in there. But anyway, oh no, it popped off. But anyway, that's the card. And again, James Elite Hunters was like, "Hey, I found a Pee Wee," and he put it on some little thing, and I'm like, "Hey, James, is that thing for sale?" And it wasn't expensive. I mean, I'll tell you, it was $25, and But so anyway, this set of cards, if you've never heard of them, they came in strips of 13 cards. They're perforated, and they were all folded up together and then put in one of those little capsules and sold like in a bubblegum machine. So is it a strip card or is it a gum card? The R means it's a gum card, but it didn't actually have gum. It was distributed through a gum machine. But anyway, there are tons of Hall of Famers in there and stars, both from current players from 1950 as well as previous guys like Babe Ruth, guys like DiMaggio's in it, Jackie Robinson, although he was playing. Mathewson's in it. Walter Johnson's in it, Lou Gehrig, Ty Cobb, all those guys, they're in this set. And they're not expensive compared to, let's say, a 1950 Bowman Jackie Robinson would be rather pricey. So anyway, it's just cool and it's eclectic. And again, if it wasn't for me watching a friend make a video, I wouldn't have found out about the set and I wouldn't have added it to it. So there you go.
I think that's awesome. That's fantastic. I know that I've seen this set. I'm not totally familiar with it, but I've seen maybe someone else. I thought I saw Orlando share one, or maybe that was the Magic, the 48 Magic cards.
They look similar. They do look very similar.
Yeah. The Magic, there's a different, this is a very, I mean, it's just printed on a very thin cardboard. How these survived is what blows me away. Because they are, I can't describe how tiny this thing is. Well, give me a half a second and I'll give you an example. I did this in the video. This is a normal postage stamp because everyone said, boy, that's like a postage stamp. Well, no, it's actually not. This is a postage stamp. This is the one, this is like one of the ones that they used for the opening ceremony for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it's
like
about
half of that.
It's about a half or maybe even a third of the size.
Right.
It's really, really small. Showing the wrong thing. It's really, really tiny. So I don't know. Again, so if you're looking out there and you go, well, I've never seen one before, I want to look them up. R423, that's the name of the set. And if you go on eBay, they're always on there. Not hundreds and hundreds, but you can look through and peruse and find them. They're not super scarce and they're not very pricey. So anyway, that's the video I just did on a set that anyway, I just think it's super cool and just a nice little add to my collection.
I get a kick out of it because the R designation in my head always designates, I instantly think of all the oversized pre-war, all the, the R311 is the premiums, the National Chickle premiums and the wide pens and the fine, and those are all oversized cards.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, the R representing the gum, that's like a minute card in comparison. Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm just catching up on the comments because I would have brought them up, but they, for whatever reason, there's a glitch with StreamYard.
That's
or
fine.
whenever we go into that screen mode where it kind of highlights for you, it keeps switching it. So I don't know why it does that, but I'm just catching up. A lot of people seem to be kind of exuberant about that card. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I am hoping that the nickname the encyclopedia sticks for Stukes.
I think it should.
That's what
I can't think of anybody else it would go to. So
right.
Absolutely.
Scott is Stukes. Or Scott is the encyclopedia.
But let's see. There was a question I wanted to ask you about one of the episodes you did.
Okay.
You had an episode called "Collecting Beyond Cardboard" on your channel.
Okay.
You discussed. So I wrote this up. It says you discussed expanding the scope of collecting. And so, like, what does collecting beyond cardboard mean to you, and how has it influenced your approach to the hobby?
Okay, so first and foremost, I absolutely love the game of baseball, like just as an entity, not necessarily the major leagues. The game of baseball to me is absolutely beautiful to watch, and the more you know and understand the rules and the strategies, the more beautiful it becomes. To me, it's like watching a ballet or something, especially very skilled players. So it doesn't have to be the major leagues. So baseball, as we all know, was America's pastime, and it was the big push or whatever. That's why there's so many cards of it, and we collect cards, and we know cards. We know sets, both pre-war, post-war, all sorts of issues or whatever. But everything was being produced that was baseball related because it would sell, not just cards. So for me, like, I'm trying to be very focused in what I buy or get for cards. I don't want a huge collection. I went through that and I've sold off a ton of stuff. I want to be very specific in what I collect. So if you don't know, I mentioned it last night on Jason's, but I'll mention it again. I only have 100. That's my goal, is only have 100 cards in my collection. And if I gain something new, I have to get rid of something. Now, I've imposed that on myself because I want to keep it very specific and very contained. Now, that doesn't apply to complete sets that I've put together or my player collectors. So, like when I picked up that Reese I just showed, I didn't have to get rid of another card. That just went into my Reese collection. But anyway, but baseball, to me, there's so many great pieces and items and baseball related things that are not baseball cards, so that I just absolutely love. So for instance, I'll pull it down. I got this at the National. And this is an old cast iron bank.
Love
And
it.
how cool is this? Now, I mean, it works like you would put a coin in the pitcher's hand. It cocks back. There's a button behind here on the catcher, and when you push it down, you can see the batter swings and the spring release, and it actually shoots into the little, the catcher's glove moves up, and whatever. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Something to collect. I didn't go out looking for this. I didn't say, boy, I sure hope I can find a cast iron bank at the National. But when I saw it, I'm like, well, that belongs in my collection. It just does. This isn't Hall of Famers. This isn't my favorite, players. This isn't my favorite team. This is just baseball. Some little kid had this because they just love the game of baseball. And that's what I love, the connection to this. And I've got little things like this all over the place that have nothing to do with baseball cards. I'll give you another example. So over here, I've got these. I found a set of coasters, and they're just prints of normal Norman Rockwell paintings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, this was like $2 at a thrift store or something, and I'm like, well, yeah, I've got to have those. And but why not? So that's what I'm talking about. When you collect beyond cardboard, it's collecting the game of baseball and its history, not just the players or a team or anything like that. That's what the cards are for me. The game of baseball is collecting the stuff I didn't know I wanted until I see it, and I'm like, well, yeah, I need to have that. I really would love to have that. And I have probably more of those items than I do cards. So that's kind of that whole take on that.
I think that's awesome. You showed me that bank at the National. I think I told you my father-in-law, my wife found, he's an avid golfer. He lives in Pinehurst, North Carolina. He loves golf. That's what he does. Found almost, I'm assuming it's the same maker, but it's a golf bank. So he puts it, and then it goes into the hole.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that is fantastic. When I saw that, that's instantly what I thought of when you showed it to me. I'm like, my father-in-law's got one just like that, but for golf. It's a beautiful piece.
Sorry, I'm reading Stu's thing. Yeah, I just love stuff. Well, the magazines too. Now, I don't actively gain a lot of magazines. I kind of got a few different groups all at once. I love these magazines. They're fun and they're beautiful to look at. I was talking to Terry, TJ Mack, you mentioned him earlier, because he's a big magazine collector. And I said, to me, magazines are like when a little kid kind of grew out of collecting baseball cards, but they still wanted to stay connected. They're just as beautiful on the cover. There's tons of information in there. In fact, more information in magazines than there are on the baseball card stats. But cards were made for kids. Magazines were made for teenagers and adults. They just didn't stay as collectible as cards, so they don't have the same price value. So,
Right.
exactly. And how cool is that? You know what I mean? And that's a connection to you and what you love. And again, they're not expensive, not compared to, say, a card. So I like the magazines, and they make a nice backdrop for my videos. So
I think they're fantastic.
It has, this is the championship yearbook, 69. It has Seaver on the front. So pretty cool.
I think there's a new channel out where the gentleman collects Sports Illustrated. I think Mangini might have shouted him out, or someone shouted him out.
And I saw something about that.
Yeah, and I subscribe to it. So there are people who are dedicated to that. That's what they love. Yeah. So,
yep.
But yeah, no, I mean the yearbooks, magazines. I mean our guest next week, Lenny, is a huge magazine. He loves collecting magazines, autographs, he loves that sort of stuff. But I don't know. Would you call that? Is it fair to call that a secondary market, or is that not? Is that unfair?
I mean, there's a market for it. I don't know what the classification being primary or secondary. It's not as popular overall as far as the number of people looking for it. That just means the prices are down. But they're just, I don't know. That's just, to me, it's another connection to the game and the history of the game, no matter what it is. And I've got things that I've never shown on my channel because I'm like, I don't know if anybody care about watching this, or how do I make this into a whole video? And part of that is kind of cool for me because as I sit in this room, as I sit here, there's a case right here that you can't see, and it is just packed full of odds and ends and weird little oddball things that I just find cool. They're not all video worthy, but they're just kind of neat. You know what I mean? I'll show you another example. This is just a vintage ball strike indicator. This wasn't in the major leagues, but this is baseball, and this is a utilitarian thing that was made to do a job. and someone kept it. This is probably from the 40s, maybe 50s, based on the design and the materials made, but it's just neat. And it was probably $3, you know. So they're not expensive, but it still kind of helps tell the overall story of baseball, where we
Mhm.
are now, where it came from, and you can do that through so much more than just cards. Although the cards are really cool too, so
Sure.
I'm not against that.
I
Did
mean,
those did that come from the brother dealers that you and Jake know?
No, I
Oh, okay.
way before I got that years and years and years ago.
Okay.
No, I've never actually purchased anything from them.
Okay.
They're more like the free entertainment when we go to that show.
Right.
Jake's the one that kind of wheels and deals, but man, and again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but they are definitely an eclectic pair of dealers, we'll call them. So
well, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, I know you put together a stack of cards you wanted to show. That's something we always do here, is to kind of give the opportunity for our guests to showcase some amazing cards.
okay,
So I'm not going to be able to pull the comments up during this process, but I will definitely pull them up after because of the glitch. But fire away, man. This is your want to give you the opportunity.
okay. So like I mentioned, so what I pulled was I said I was a player collector, certain players. I've mentioned Pee Wee Reese, and another one is Carl Erskine, which I mentioned him as well. And both Reese and Erskine on the same team, teammates through the 50s Dodgers, started 40s, whatever. Both of them on 55. Erskine ended up, he still played his last year in 59, so he won a second World Series when they were in Los Angeles. And but I just love both of them for completely different reasons. But anyway, so what I did was I didn't pull my Bowman or my tops because we've seen all those. And while there are some great cards within both of those players, I really kind of like Sammy. I like I don't know about oddball, but the lesser known issues or the food issues or the regional issues or whatever. I don't have tons of them, but they're definitely cool because if I showed, let's say, like last night we were goofing around and I showed a 54 Bowman Pee Wee Reese, people be like, "Oh, great card or bad card," but you've all seen it before. But how many? And I don't know, but how many people saw this before I showed it a little bit ago? I
Not
don't
me.
know. So again, that's one of those things where I like those types of cards. So anyway, so I've already shown this one. I'll show a few others. Because it's got the same image, I'll show the Burke Ross. And for the Burke Ross, they don't have the high quality of some of the tops or the Bowman, but there are some great cards in there that are a lot more reasonably priced, and they're just fun. They're not super expensive overall. I mean, you could always get high end, high grade, whatever. But I love the Ross. And one thing about Reese, everyone knows the 53 Bowman. In fact, I've got one. You can see it up there underneath the magazine cover that the photo is based on, and which was given to me by a very good friend of mine, Alex Bowman 53. Fittingly, but Pee Wee Reese was known in a lot of his cards for action cards or action poses, not just the 53 Bowman, including this card. I mean, I know it's posed, but he's not just standing there with a bat on his shoulder. So anyway, so there's the Burke Ross, and I love that. I love that card. And then another one I pulled is the
Well,
Hires Root Beer, and I know
well,
Sammy's got it. I already showed it,
yeah.
but a great card. And what I love about this card or this set is the thought of, remember, these were marketed for children. And the whole knot hole gang thing, where you're kind of peeking through the knot hole and looking in to see your favorite player. So a little background from my family. My father was born in 1942, and he grew up in New York City. And now he was a Giants fan, so Rick will be happy about that. But he went to the Polo Grounds. He saw Willie Mays play. He was not his favorite player. His favorite player was actually Monty Irvin. But he told the story about one time when he was a little kid. He had a paper route in his neighborhood. He lived in Queens, and he won this contest. And when he won, the winning tickets or the winner won tickets to a Brooklyn Dodgers game. And he went because he loved baseball so much, but he was so embarrassed that he had to go see those bums play. And he tells the story about, hey, I had to go. And I'm like, Dad, you went to Ebbets Field, and now he understands what that was. But he saw Jackie Robinson play. He saw Pee Wee Reese play. He saw all those great Dodgers from way back then. And what's cool to me about this set is it kind of reminds me of something my dad would have done. He would have gone to a ballpark and tried to peek through to look and see just a glimpse as a player runs by to see who it was. I like that image and that thought, and I think that's a great design. So anyway, that's my thought on that. So
I think
anyway,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Perfect. Well
Um,
said.
and then the last card from Reese that I'm going to show, and anybody who knows anything about me or watched anything, you know what card I'm going to show because I can't not show it. But this is by far one of the not biggest cost wise, although it kind of was excitement wise. You talk about anticipation and the look and the search. You talk about before the community, how it all came together, the story behind it, everything. This card represents everything I love about my history within this hobby and this community. And that's the 1952 Coke Tips Pee Wee Reese. And everything about this. I can tell the story. And I don't want to embarrass you, Sammy, but Sammy's the one that texted me and say, "Hey, Drew, just so you know, one just got listed in Heritage Auction last night, and I'm on it, you know." And man, I had a whole slew of people watching this thing and looking for it and rooting me on and encouraging me and talking strategy. How are you going to bid? How much are you going to do? And all this other stuff. And to the point to where it came down to the night of the auction ending, a group of about 5 of us just got on a StreamYard. Now it wasn't broadcast and just waited because it was like New Year's Eve countdown, except I didn't know I was going to win it. So maybe it was Christmas and you're opening and finally seeing what it is. And when I won the bid, it was fantastic. It was just great, you know. The worst part was waiting for them to send it to me because I waited for a whole month to win it. But I love this card, and not just because it's Reese. There's so much about this card that's fantastic. The Americana, Coca-Cola, the story behind it, the fact that it's kind of scarce, the way they made the set, the fact that they, as Sammy has told on his channel a number of times, they put out 2 promo cards, and neither of those players are actually in the actual set. So there's kind of some questions behind it, but there's some answers too. I love it. There's everything about this that I love about collecting, and it's wrapped up all right in this card. So that's the last Reese card that I wanted to show off.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, everybody was aware you were looking for it, right? Any show I
Yeah,
would go to, I would take a peek to see if they had it.
yeah,
That's again, we spoke about the community earlier, but that's perfect
yeah.
example of that. So I
And
think that's
then
fantastic.
and then some guy outed the secret on a live stream. I'm just kidding.
That's right. I felt bad about that
I
afterwards.
was kidding. I didn't care. I'd be
know,
honest. I would be so more surprised if people didn't know it by then because I
yeah.
was texting everybody I knew and people I didn't know that I got her. So
I
I
think
was
I
kidding.
saw it before it ever hit the screen. Before I think you texted it. If
I
I'm not
did. I
mistaken,
did.
yeah.
Yep. So those are some of the Reese's I have, and if you want me to continue, I will. But the other side of that is Erskine, and we know a lot about Pee Wee Reese. The captain of the team and welcoming Robinson and the scrappy shortstop and Hall of Famer and all those things, and he deserves all of those accolades because they're all true. Carl Erskine, though, has a personal connection to me. Now, I'm not related to him, but years and years ago, I tried TTM. Let's just, why not? The very first response I ever got back was from Carl Erskine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I didn't pull the card, but I got his 1952 Bowman autographed. And not only did he sign it, he was very careful in where he signed it. And he also signed 1955 World Series champs. And I thought, how cool is that he added that? He didn't just scribble over his face, he was very specific about it. And so I was continuing on through TTMing, and I wanted to get a baseball signed. And so I sent him a baseball and I wrote him a letter and I said, "Mr. Erskine, I've already gotten a card signed from you, and you were so gracious to do this. Could you please sign this baseball? I want to donate some money to you though, because I didn't want to like take advantage of him being a free signer." So I gave him some money, and through those that conversation I had mentioned that I worked with my church's youth group, because I know he's very connected to a group called FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, if anybody knows what that is, and his history of that entire group. So I mentioned that. Well, he writes back, and oh, man, I should. You have a second? Can I just jump up and grab it real quick? Do you mind?
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay, I
definitely.
apologize, but give me have a second.
This is compelling.
Best storyteller ever.
I know
he
that's insane, man. It's insane.
he was stringing me along yesterday on a lie, and he had me hook, line, and sinker.
This one's not a lie, though. This is the truth.
right.
So I sent Erskine the ball, and all I wanted was Carl Erskine. Could he just do that? I didn't ask for anything else. He sends back not only the ball signed, which I'll show in a second. He wrote an entire page letter personally to me, "Dear Drew, da da da. It talked about, our ministry connections and all this other stuff, and then sent back the money that I had sent him. Not only sent him $10, but he sent it back to me and he said, donate this to your youth group and do some local good with it. It'll do better for you than it is what I need. And I was like, and then it was only $10, but still. But not only did he sign the ball, he filled out an entire stat ball for me.
Oh,
Wow.
that's
So
awesome.
he's got that. He has every World Series that he played in underneath it, and the two that he won. Oh wait, no, that's up here. I'm sorry. The two that he won, he underlined 55 and 59. A lot of people don't know he threw two no hitters in his career, and he put one no hitter on that side and another one on that side, and put his number, and then 1955 World Series champs is what's underneath his name. So I was like, I love this guy. So I'm not going to get, because it's too personal for a live, but I wrote him back as a thank you. I didn't want anything back. I just wrote him back as a thank you, his graciousness, and some personal stuff and some connections we had on a personal level, and we'll leave it at that. And then he wrote me back again, personal. I didn't ask for a signature. I didn't ask for a response. And he wrote me, and believe it or not, he and I actually wrote back and forth about 3 or 4 times. Now, by the time he passed, he wouldn't remember me. I know that, but still, it was like this connection to him, and because of all that stuff, I became a huge Carl Erskine fan. I dug down deep, and every layer I went through underneath him, I found more humanitarian love, respect for people, character. He wrote a book, if you don't know, and it's called "What I Learned from Jackie Robinson." He came into the league 1 year after Robinson in 1948, and he's got this amazing story, and he talks about his own personal struggles. He had a son who was born with Down syndrome, and he and his wife went through all these struggles of prejudice against handicap back in the 60s and 70s. But he learned how to deal with all this stuff because he watched Jackie Robinson, and I just love that. I love that connection. So anyway, I'm sorry I'm rambling now, but still,
No,
that's
this
my
is great.
connection
No,
with
that's awesome.
Carl Erskine. So because of that, I went down a Carl Erskine hole, and again, I'm not his tops and his Bowman, but I've got some beautiful Carl Erskine cards. So I'm going to show this one first because it's the only card I'll probably ever have from the set. It's a very pricey set, but I absolutely love it, and I just love it. But I've got
Oh, yeah.
the
Yep.
Wilson Franks Erskine card, and I don't know why the hot dog vendor was angry to throw hot dogs at him. But fortunately, they took the picture before he got knocked in the head. But I love this card, and this card and the next card I show you, both of these were promotional for an item, but they just scream 1950s baseball cards to me. If you hold this up, except for the hot dogs in the air, and hold this up to a Bowman card or whatever, you were like, well, yeah, that's the same era, that's the same everything. But this was a promotional card. Even the back is it looks like a baseball card. There's everything I love about this card and this set. The
That
other
set is
one,
definitely heating up in the
Yes.
oh
the
yeah.
I mean, it's always been very hot, but right now especially, there's a lot of talk about the Wilson Frank set.
Yeah, it's a great set, and it's not just the player selection. It's just, I don't know. To me, it just screams kind of mid-century 50s. I don't know. I love it. I
Well,
love the card and the set.
well, for me, it's when I look at all the different Wilson Franks, you got the Campanella, Ted
Mhm.
Williams, obviously, and Erskine. You have the color patterns that they have are just so it definitely hits that 50s
Yep.
design, that the whole design look they were going for then.
Yeah,
So absolutely, it's a beautiful set.
yeah. So along with this one, speaking of hitting the colored patterns, is absolutely my favorite vintage set of all time. And anybody who knows me knows what I'm going to show. But it's the Red Heart. And so there's the Erskine that I pulled. And I've got the complete set. I did a video on it a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen it, it's I don't know. I changed it up a little bit. I'll leave it at that. But again, you talk about a card that just looks like a baseball card should, except it came, because of dog food. And but still, the back looks like a baseball card should, the front looks like a baseball card should. I love this set, and the more I learn about the set and talk about the set, the more I fall in love with the set. This set is heating up. I know the Wilson Franks is, but
Mhm.
this used to be super affordable, and it's
Correct.
getting more and more expensive, but it's
Yeah,
still doable.
yeah.
So do it now before they go crazy. But that's my thought on this. But I love this set, and I'm not going to spoil it. Neither Jason or Sammy knows this, but we'll say another community member reached out and said, "Hey, Drew, I would love to have you on and do a deep dive on this. So that's going to be coming up in June. I've got vacation and stuff before that, but I can't wait to do a deep dive on the set and just talk about all the details and the nitty gritty about production and how it was sent out and all this other stuff and some of the advertisement. I have an advertisement piece from it. So I love this set, and Erskine being in it just makes it fantastic. So there you
Drew,
go.
I picked up my first one 2 weeks ago. I got my
I know. I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. It's great.
Yeah, and I, I saw after I purchased it, I'm like, this was trimmed, and then I thought about it. I'm like, I don't care.
No.
I have it. So it looks beautiful. I was thrilled. So
Yeah, it's a great one. And then the last Erskine card I'll show off. I got this at the National, and I knew, I was excited. This last year was the first National I ever went to, and I was excited, but I was nervous. I knew what I kind of wanted and what I could afford and this and that, but it was really within 30 minutes of walking through the door that I realized that this is so much more than a card show, not because of the size of it, but because of the people there. So again, I'm not trying to embarrass you, Sammy, but when we were there, myself and Sammy and Jake and Dom from Saving Sports Card, we carpooled back and forth, and we spent a lot of time that entire week together. If you guys have heard the phrase, Sammy being hobby hero, that comes from our personal conversations, and I haven't divulged why, and I'm not going to tell it. So just everybody constantly hashtag hobby hero when you see Sammy, but he truly was, and we'll leave it at that.
Cards and a moving vehicle. That's why.
Yeah, in the rain. So,
that's right.
But anyway, I'm in the National. I'm walking around. I'm like a little kid in a candy store, and I get a text from Sammy, and he said, "Hey, Drew, like what? 20 minutes, 30 minutes? I don't know." I get a text, and he says, "Drew, I found the card you're looking for this week." I'm like, "What?" And sure enough, I go find him. Thank you, Mike. I go find Sammy, and sure enough, and I was able to get the Spellmeyer, Carl Erskine. Never thought I'd get this card. This is by far his most expensive card that I know of, at least. And again, great image, great card, great story. I love the back. The whole "Hey kids, you want a baseball cap or a pennant?" Again, I just love the cross promotional stuff. But that's the final Carl Erskine card I had to show. So, and again, it's connected to so much with so much in the community. So
I got to say, he gives Bob Feller a run for his money with the deep smile on his face, because I know Bob Feller smiles in everything. But
right.
that Carl Erskine is like super. That's a beautiful, beautiful shot of him.
Yeah, there's not. Well, his rookie card, he looks like a scared kid. But other than that, I really all his cards, his 52 tops. I'm not a fan of the 52 top set overall, but the Erskine is really, really good. I mean, I really like that card. His 52 Bowman is a beautiful. I'm just looking at him up in my case. He just has great cards. 56 tops is fantastic. Anyway, but anyway, those are the cards I chose to show. So I hope that's okay.
I think that's fantastic.
No complaints here.
Yeah,
right. You know how I feel about Stahlmeyer's, Coca-Cola. I like the Wilson Franks. It's a great set. I mean, none of my players are on there, obviously, but it's still a beautiful set. I mean, you can't deny the beauty and the design choices that they made for that. It's very just, yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So I guess that's the takeaway is I'm not saying don't collect tops and Bowman, but I've got a very good friend of mine who's a huge collector, and he doesn't do YouTube, so I can talk crap about him right now. But he grew up a Topps guy, and he will not go off of Topps ever. Like he just every card he owns is Topps, and if it's not made by Topps, it's not a quote real baseball card to him. And he's got an amazing collection, but it's Topps. There's nothing wrong with Topps cards. There's amazing cards and sets and history and players and all that. But I'm like he never really knew who Stan Musial was because he was an old man by the time Topps had him. And I'm like, but Stan Musial was one of the best players of all time. He's like, yeah, but he didn't have an early Topps card, so it almost didn't count. And I don't know. I never wanted to do that. I just want to I want to have that same feeling that a kid had when they got their package of hot dogs or got their get mail away set, and they're like, oh, and they're flipping through them and they're looking at these cards with excitement and reading about them on the back. I want that feeling when I look at a card. I don't care if it came from Topps or Bowman or R423, I want that same excitement and feeling those kids had way back then.
Perfectly said. And I think that's kind of I've seen a shift recently, at least in the community and content, to include myself. And I will always collect Topps, Bowman, Golden Era. There's still a ton of it that I want, a ton of it that I have, and a ton of it that I want. But at the end of the day, you see a small shift in people leaning towards, scarcer sets, and nothing I have is drastically scarce, but you start to get into pre-war. You start to, whatever that niche is, I absolutely love the food issue items, to include post cereal, which there's plenty of them out there. Kellogg's, there's plenty of them out there. That's the stuff I really enjoy. If I'm looking Golden Era now, I seem to be leaning towards, Hostess and Post and, Wheaties. I even love the Wheaties pre-war. That's my big kick right now. But, I find myself going back to that. And I almost feel like I have to explain in my channel, I'm not abandoning Topps, or Bowman. I'm still going to collect it. But, the last 9 or 10 picks that I've made, none of it is Topps or Bowman. So,
well, I think Orlando put it best, is that, most of us started with Topps and then moved to oddball stuff. And I think that happens with a lot of us.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I will say this much, is that, while you have a lot of regional, scarce, food-based, gum-based stuff that's out there, Topps did issue some really cool, scarce stuff throughout the years. Like, there's a set that I would still love to find the maze of. Now the name is slipping me, but God, I can't remember it. But it's like, I think it's called the Topps. Was that Scratch Off or something? I cannot remember it now.
The rub off?
No, yeah, I can't remember. It was like late '60s, but nevertheless, it was like. But my point is that Topps had a lot of test issued stuff that is really difficult to find, and so I mean, as Orlando put it, most of us start with Topps, move on to Topps test stuff, and then kind of expand even from there. So, but to each their own. Everybody kind of does their own thing, and it works for them.
Yeah,
no, I think it's been. I'm
sorry,
sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, don't get me wrong. It goes back to that excitement we talked about. If somebody picks up a 77 Topps common, but they love that team or that player as a kid, I'm just as excited for them as when you guys get your big stuff, because again, that goes back to that connection between why not everybody's going to collect Carl Erskine. Not everybody's going to want to spend any money on a Carl Erskine, and that's fine. But I know so many people are excited if I picked up a Carl Erskine because it's important to me. Just as much as I'm excited, when you pick up a Sherm Lawler card, that's a big thing for you. And I'm excited for you for that. You know what I mean? And by the way, he's in the Red Heart set. So just saying.
He is. He is.
So that's my thing is, like, I saw Nolan Ryan pitch when I was a kid. I love it. I don't collect him actively. But Sammy, if you get like a really cool Nolan Ryan, I think that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. That's the connection. That's all of it together. We're just sharing. I don't know. To me, it's like the internet has been able, and this is through texting and YouTube and stuff. It's brought like the kids on the corner flipping cards back. You know what I mean? Except now we're doing in hard plastic holders, but still, we're just sharing our collections and who do you got and all this kind of stuff. And that stuff is just neat for me.
I can openly tell you this, Drew, which I think you support. I find myself leaning farther and farther away from those plastic holders, and I'm enjoying the ungraded, and I'm really loving it. And it doesn't need to be cut perfect for me. The post cereals and the Wheaties and all that. If there's a little off cut in it, I'm good with it. It's part of the story behind it. I'm starting to really dig that.
Yeah, there's something kind of cool about, like, when we went through last night and I was pulling cards out of a binder for our episode. There's something neat about that. I'm not putting down graded or people that choose to grade or buy graded only or however you collect. That's fine with me. Like, I get a lot of comments or questions about, why do you have screw downs? Don't you know that's going to ruin your card? And I know that they don't know what they're talking about, but I do this because I can custom make any screw down so they all look the same. I custom made all these little black holders, so when I get a weird one, it still looks good in the case next to the other one. But that's my choice in how I display it. It doesn't. So again, if you want a number or a company, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But
was the most difficult one the Coke tip? Because that's got a lot of intricate. You kind of got the rounded edge at the top, and
it really wasn't because of the size.
Okay.
I just had to really take my time with it. and I've got a process. In fact, I actually showed the process in a video a few months ago about how I do it. Um, and it's not really hard. Really, one of the hardest ones, and I didn't know this, was this little one because it was so small. If you look at this video or the thumbnail in the video, I cut this so crooked. I didn't even realize I cut it crooked until I saw the close up through my camera, and I'm like, "Dang, I really screwed that up," because it's so small. I couldn't
Right.
tell, but I mean, honestly, it's kind of I've done this. I started doing this way back when I was a type collector of pre-war cards, and you talk about oddball cards. And what I would do with those was I would actually cut them to incorporate the wear of the card. So if it was rounded corners,
Oh,
my
jeez.
cutout was rounded. Like that card fit perfect in it.
Right.
It wasn't all squared off or whatever. And there were some oddball cards and stuff I had that were not shaped in rectangles or squares. And but that was years and years ago. So that's when I started all that.
I thought of the set the Testa show I was thinking of. It's Topps Punch Outs
Oh, the
Punch
punch outs.
Outs.
Yeah, okay.
from '67. So again, a niche thing.
Sure.
They had a ton of stuff. They had the candy lids. You know, you've got a couple
Yeah,
in the 70s,
yeah,
right?
candy lid. I got one right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the maze. Or no, that's the Seaver. Sorry. I do have the maze though.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, and then they have the proofs. The proofs are
Yep.
ridiculous.
Sure.
But cool, man. Listen, is there any final words, Drew, before we sign off?
No, just, the same advice you've heard a million times. Just have fun. It's just a hobby. We all have, I was thinking about this. We all have a job that we go to daily, and that supports our family and our life. Very, very few of us in this community where our job has something to do with cards. And I got to be honest, I don't know what most people do. And it's not that I don't care, but this is just fun. You know what I mean? I came home, I was at work today, and I thought, man, I'm looking forward to this tonight. Nobody at work knows I do this, and I don't care that they don't know. Um, have fun. Just enjoy your hobby. If you collect high dollar cards, good for you. If you can't afford it, there's nothing wrong with that. None of us that have, let's say, a certain level of card. This is also my advice. Any of us that have a certain level of card, like, oh my gosh, you've got this, or you know how expensive that is, or I could never afford it. None of us got these cards overnight. I have been collecting cards for decades, and I have accumulated and refined my collection for decades to get to where I have now. So if you're just starting out or you're just dipping your toe into vintage, find something you like, ease into it a little bit, work within your pay scale, because please don't go into debt over a baseball card.
Right.
But have fun with it and really look at that card. I'm going to tell if you haven't seen it yet, go out. I now know you can find one for under $3 on eBay. Go find a 1956 Topps Mayo Smith card and buy that card.
Keep that down.
No, I'm just saying, go buy that card and enjoy the fact that you have one of the worst cards ever produced by the biggest company ever had. So I'm just saying, have fun with it, enjoy it, show it off, be like, what's going on or whatever. Get involved in this community, whether it's through comments, make videos, comment on people. We, as people that make videos, enjoy the comments. I think all of us read every comment and respond to everyone because we like that interaction. So just have fun. Just enjoy this hobby because that's what it is. It was built for children. We just didn't all grow up. So let's just continue to enjoy it, not worry about all the stress and controversy of it.
100%.
Well,
someone may have purchased one of those cards about 2 hours ago. I think he just entered the comments. Of course, his new nickname is going to be the Accumulator. He even beats me to the $3 cards. So
cool, guys. Well, I put your link in there so everybody could subscribe to Drew. If you're not already subscribed, I know a lot of us in the chat probably are, but if you're not, and this is the first time you're getting a chance to hear Drew talk about his collection, the storytelling, definitely take the opportunity. I mean, I actually didn't know about the Erskine letters, the Erskine, conversations or the pen pals, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Going back and forth. That's pretty special. So
yeah.
Listen, Drew, thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out with us,
Absolutely.
and taking the time to go through kind of your backstory. But and also thank you everybody for joining. I'll be back next week. Jason is going to be playing poker, if you haven't heard already. And I see Aaron is here, so I'm just going to say it now. Aaron's going to be my co-host next week.
All right, Aaron, you better figure it out. If you upstage me, I'm going to be really angry at you.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Appreciate it, guys.